Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
One and all. Still not fully better. I keep hearing stories of people that are like, I had the flu and it took me weeks to recover. And I'm like, awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my aunt has it, and she's still really bad.
It's like the worst part is over, but it's like there's still just consistent lingering things like the cough, I mean, sucks, but it's just still like just annoying. So I had to check and see we're talking about resilience today. So we'll give the crew some time to pop on. Everything's kind of slow on my computer today.
Okay, you guys, I just did this passion fruit LaCroix sparkling water. I don't know how people can drink these plain because they have no flavor to me. I'm like, I just can't. But
I know.
I know, I'm like, everyone's like, oh, it's so healthy and no calories and no sugar. I'm like, ew.
Yeah.
But I've been working on just like cutting back my caffeine overall because I would do like the XM and the nootropic and an E-shot and a Bia and coffee, and I'm like, man, this just can't be good overall long term. So I'm trying to cut back a little bit. So I'm doing this, and then I added in my collagen, and then I added in, I'm super into like healthy mocktails, so then I added in the Zango, and it's really good. It actually like looks really pretty too. So
Wait,
I don't know. I've been obsessed.
Gabby, go back to that Zango. Is that the Zango that we bought from Zia?
Yes.
Because Zango used to be another multi-level company on its own, right?
Yes. And we acquired them and all of their peoples.
Wow, that's just so. I mean, we haven't really heard much about that side of it, but we got that acquisition, but we didn't do much with it.
Yeah, it was like they folded it in and yeah, I
Nothing.
mean, I've slowly tried most of everything and I haven't tried the reserve though. Does it taste different than the regular Zango?
I've only bought this one. The other one's white
Yeah.
and kind of orange, isn't it? So this one's like fruity, like a berry fruity. What is that one like?
That one's a little bit more like it's kind of like more of a sour I don't know exactly what kind of fruit it is. I guess it's definitely sweet, but it's a little bit more on the sour side. It's like I love mango. It's not mango-y.
Oh, I did too.
I might
Yeah.
have to try that then, just like
Do you
a new
guys
feeling.
when you take it? So when I first started Zango, like I was just curious about it. Like during that time in my life, like every day at about 1 or 2, I was starting to get kind of tired and I was experimenting, trying different things to like perk me up at that afternoon slump or whatever. And we have so many different things. And when I started Zango, like it gave me full all day complete energy. And that was like my number one thing that I was like noticed with it. And everything else that I read about it, it's all about like anti-inflammatory. It's all about, the just like systems functioning well. And so I did it for a couple, maybe like half a year. And then I haven't ordered it now for a little while because I just rotate through things. But it's always one of those things where I'm just like, oh, if I have some extra, Isobody challenge or whatever, I'll get it because I like it. It's just not like I have to have it every day.
Yeah. Is it an approved cleanse day product? Really? Okay.
Taking it on a cleanse day.
There's also
That's
no
what I was wondering, Gabby, because I know you're doing cleanse day
there's also
today.
no like for sure like serving size. Like I mean it says what 1 to 2 ounces I think on the bottle, but like I mean like I've heard stories of people with like cancer that drink like half a bottle a day. Like, so there's stuff like, I mean, and that's how I think Ionix is for some people too. Like I've heard stories where people are like chugged like a ton of it and ran a marathon. And I'm like, like you guys are playing with stuff. I mean, it just kind of makes me nervous, but like,
But I honestly, it's so hard to figure out what 1 milliliter is, so.
yeah,
I
I've
prefer,
literally drank from the bottle a pull or two every day since I
yeah,
started. Like I don't, I've
that's why I get the scoops, because it's just so much easier to figure out what one scoop is versus having
Yeah.
to figure out.
Well, and I wonder too, I remember talking to Jake when the Elixir first came out, and he said that he took 2 of them because he's a bigger guy, and like he took one, but he didn't feel it. So then he took a second one. And I know for me, being almost 6 foot tall, 170 pounds, like I need a little bit more as well. So even for the cleanse, like I do like a serving and a half. Especially if it's, like recommended daily values. I didn't know this until like a year or 2 ago. The recommended daily value is based off of the minimum needed to keep a prisoner of war alive. So that's why when people would look at our old shake canisters and they're like, it's like 10,000% your daily recommended serving. And I was like, yeah, that's what your body actually needs to like function optimally, not just to barely keep you alive. But people didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, I get every once in a while people do some weird stuff. Like one of Molly's people right now is like, she's nitpicking at the nootropic. She's like, it helps, it's great, but I really don't understand. I've been searching, I can't figure out exactly how much everything is in each bottle. And I mean, every time that I've ever had anybody nitpick like that, it's like, if we just had our whole mapped, how to make this laid out for the world, then every other company would steal it. I mean, that's the understanding why they don't like go into great detail about like every single little thing. Like Brad and I have like searched down exactly how much creatine is in certain things. Like, I mean, you can find it, but like they're just not gonna like put it on a poster for the whole world to see. And so
Exactly.
Molly told me that yesterday, and I'm like, oh, do I need to try to figure out for this woman? Is it worth it? Is it going to change her mind to make her order? Because she's already saying it's expensive, all this other stuff. And
sometimes it's like, how many times are those people like going to like McDonald's and these places? Like, do you even know what you're there? No, you don't.
The funniest thing about this woman particularly, so she was at Molly's wedding, and this woman, like the whole day, I'm watching everybody like very, very closely that day. Like I get hyper focused on, stressful days and stuff. And this woman could not remember anybody's name the entire day. And she was the officiant. And so she's walking around and she's like, your daughter, she's going to go right there. And then this beautiful person, like, so she kept, like calling them whatever. And like, remind me of your name again. Like she couldn't remember anybody's name. And she was forgetting steps involved in the wedding. And she's not like an older person to be like, oh, okay, you might want to go have a evaluation from your doctor. Like I can recognize that. I've done that for multiple patients. And so it's like, in her case, you could tell like she's just so scattered. She's got so much going on. Like she needs that nootropic. And like, how do I walk up to this woman and be like, hey, so I noticed you're so frazzled. Like you really need to prioritize this with your budget, lady. But hopefully Molly can maybe inspire her to look at the new comp plan here too. So, this is what happens when friends come on to our community call and not, like new people. We end up just sitting here chit-chatting about everything. Gabby, before we move on, how do you feel when you take Zango? Like, what did you notice?
I'll be honest, I don't notice anything different. I don't. But I know it's good for me, so I'm just taking it. And it's like you said, I don't take it every day, so I'm just trying to choose like when do I take my bubbler versus I'm making my own mocktail. And I've even been doing the so the XM and the Zango I feel like are 2 little outliers, but I have good biohacking results. With the XM, I feel the energy for sure. Like it's almost like a buzz energy, like oh my gosh, is this too much? Yeah, it feels so good. And so I've been doing that even with the bubblers too. Like I'll froth it with some water, and then I'll add a little bit of kombucha, and like it just getting fun about my drinks and enjoying how I'm drinking them. And then knowing that it's like people love watching that. It's kind of like those weird people that like food things. I know it's kind of like way off in the field of your question, but I've been doing a lot more of like making the mocktails and putting it on my social, and then just being like, you know, collagen and moringa, and then I'll list out the benefits. And I don't even say it's Isagenix or anything, but then later I'll be like, oh, you guys are all asking me about that. This is the product that I use. If you're curious, here's the link. And it's
Yeah.
just a really easy way to throw it in there and talk about the benefits.
I've had it on like my list forever to like create some recipe cards with different things. And I, you know, just haven't had time to do that. But like when you were bringing up LaCroix, so we like the sparkling waters. Now it was an acquired taste. It was not something that like we just overnight, like I specifically remember trying them back in the day, and I'm just like, this tastes like static. I don't know why you guys like this. It's weird. But we stopped pretty much drinking all soda too. And like I've always been a big water drinker, and I love having lots to drink throughout the day. Like it's a problem sometimes because I will go down that drink aisle and just get coconut waters and aloe vera waters and sparkling waters and, you know, like all of the different things. And so like half the fridge is drinks, and that's not, you know, it's expensive. Like there's a lot of different things not to do that. So we started with the sparkling waters, and me and Brad are both like, these are kind of nice because it's like, it's just breaking the monotony of like water all of the time. And there is some brands that have better flavor, and like some brands that are way more carbonated than I like. And then there's some that have like little bits of that has like the Spindrift has juice in it and not just flavoring and stuff. But one of the big things that or what I was going to say about the bubblies is like I hated the berry cleanse. And so before mango came out, the only way I could like really get through the berry cleanse was by adding it with like one of the sparkling waters. And that was what would kind of change it, the composition just enough for me to be able to like get through it. So there's lots
Yeah, I
of,
wasn't a big fan of the berry either, and I
Yeah.
loved it when mango came out.
yeah, same. Like, I mean, every once in a while when I'm setting somebody up and I'm like, what flavor do you want? I'm like, don't do the berry. But you know, some people like it. So I'm like,
Some people love it. I mean,
Yeah.
they just swear by it.
But you know what though? Here's the funny thing. The liquid peach mango, not as much of a fan. I feel like that
Really?
reminds me of, it's one of the ingredients is just more powerful in the liquid. And so I've got 2 7-day boxes out in the garage, and I'm like, oh, you know, I'll just drink the cleanses on a cleanse day, or, you know, give them away or do something with them. But I'm just like, oh, I just don't like the liquid peach mango as much.
Oh, jeez.
So yay. Okay. So today's topic is resiliency. And the biggest thing for me when I think of resiliency is I wish I was taught about resiliency and given some tools and resources as a kid on how to just like bounce back, because things would get me down and I would stay down and I didn't know how to get back up. And so with my kids right now, and we talk a lot about, you know, how we share a lot of our topics and stuff with our kids. Miranda came home last week and was like, kids make fun of me, Mom, because you're a vegan. And I'm like, how do they know I'm a vegan? And she's like, I don't know. It just like came up. I told my friends something happened. People know. And I'm like, so now I'm being bullied through you? What the heck? As if I didn't get bullied enough as a kid. And so I'm like, you don't let that bother you, right? And she was like, no, like, it doesn't bother me. And I'm like, first of all, it's a stupid, silly reason to make fun of somebody, right? Like, you know, my choice of what I eat is nobody's business. Like, it doesn't affect anybody. But these kids, they're learning it from somewhere. Like, they're seeing that it's okay. Something is telling them, they're watching it, you know, like whether it's on social media, they could have great parents that don't make fun of anybody, but they're seeing it somewhere and it's letting them know it's okay. And so Miranda was like, you know, bringing it up, and she's like, I'm fine. You know, like it doesn't sit here and bother me. Like, she's built some resilience and stuff like this, but like, this is small pennies and she's only 11. And so it's like, what's going to happen when people start trying to cut at her character and people try to, you know, say things that really matter to her, or she gets her heart broken from, you know, XYZ, like when the catty, like girl drama stuff comes up, this and that. So like, we're kind of using this as an example to kind of help figure that stuff out. And I really learned a lot of resiliency for myself, like later in life. I mean, I learned some in the military, but I learned a lot since coming into Isogenics, because I mean, we all know there's people out there that are just not great. Angela, do you remember that gym owner that we did the 3-way call with? And we had this like great message chat going on. He was super interested in bringing in Isogenics to his gym, and it was like going great. We had a lunch together. Like, I mean, he seemed like he really wanted it for himself. He had some medical issues. He couldn't drive. So like there was a lot going on. He met with Angela. This was right after like me and Angela had met in Vegas. And so he was all interested. Everything was good. And then we were right in the middle of, I think, a Team Vision Cast call or something like that. And he messaged me and he was like, I don't want to be a part of some sort of scam. And I'm like staring at my phone, like, what is he talking about? He's like, I went down a Google trail and, you know, I feel like it's a scam or something. And like it, you know, what can you do? Like when that stuff happens, like I attempted, talked to him about some things, you know, like went back and forth or whatever, but like that, it still sticks with me. Obviously, it's still like something where I'm like still thinking about. And guess what? He just joined the Unstoppable team. I added him to the group. So he added himself. He's in the group. So you never know. I mean, like, right? I mean, I've always checked in on him. Like, how are things going? How are things going? And like, a lot of his stuff has been kind of negative. Like, it's been a rough year. Things are hard, you know, things like that. So it's like, you know, you just keep, you know, planting seeds. But like, I'm glad that rejection happened as far in with my Isogenics as it did, because if that happened in the beginning, it might have scared me away. And I'd already had some skills, you know, built up on how to speak to him and like, you know, proper people and things to help me through that. But like that kind of resiliency that you kind of learn with the rejection that comes with people not wanting to try the products, join the business, things like that, it helps with like all other areas. And so I have had multiple instances where somebody would reject something, and I have to remind myself they're not rejecting me. They're not rejecting Sadie. They're rejecting the idea. Like my cousin. So she told me the other day again. How many times do you have to tell me that? I will probably never, ever join network marketing, Sadie. Never, ever, 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 ever. And I'm like, oh, I might need you to tell me that again 17 more times. But it's like, she's not rejecting me. Like she's an IT representative at a bank, and she is happy. She loves it. She loves her 9 to 5. She loves all that stuff. Like, and she does have a unicorn job. She works from home. And anyway, so resilience, that's my take on it. And just to kind of skirt before we start going around the room, when we start getting people, because we will hopefully around the new year, when we start getting more people jumping on the community calls, like we're going to have it be a little bit more structured. So it'll be like a little bit of free talk for a couple minutes in the beginning. Then, you know, and it doesn't always have to be me. I just always like kind of started off or whatever. We'll have a few minutes, you know, like watching the time with the subject that we're talking about. And then everybody can kind of talk about their takes. We'll share some wins, what's the product of the day, and then we'll end. So like, I will create some, like an agenda to share screen. So then we can kind of see each week or whatever, and I'll plan them out just so that when we have, you know, additional people come on. But I don't know if people are watching the replays, like according to the YouTube, you know, you can see stuff like our leadership calls sometimes have 10, 12 views. The community call about time on November 30th had 20 views.
Wow.
Some of the other community calls have 3, 5. So some people are watching them. And yeah, like one Wednesday call about brain health had 23 views. So 24 views for another one. So we know people are watching them. I don't know if they're watching them all the way through or, you know, just catching bits and pieces or whatever. Sometimes we go over an hour, things like that. But
Yeah,
okay.
you can't see what the reading is, where they're coming from.
Right. And so, and I don't know that our leaders are watching the replays because I don't know. I guess we can ask, but
Just a quick like comment. Should we keep them to more like 30 minutes? Should we really push to keep them to 30?
yeah, we can definitely at least stop the recording at 30. And then like at that point, if anybody is like wants to talk about stuff that's not pertaining to the community call that somebody would watch on a replay, then we can just go over any other questions or do a little work at session or things like that. So we can aim for that. So how about that'll be my mission between now and next week. I will get the itinerary all cute and made up, and then we'll like watch the clock next time. So we got
So,
9
yeah, I
minutes.
like the new description that you put up.
Oh yeah, I have been
That-
meaning to do that for so long.
It looks good.
Good, because the group used to be just me and Brad like sharing community
Yeah,
information. And
I
so
read it before, and then I
I
was like,
know.
then
I know, everybody's like, who's Brad? It's not even like posting in here. So okay. Who has some thoughts they'd like to share on resiliency?
I can go next because I'm gonna jump off right in 9 minutes. But I think it's super simple. Like I heard a quote the other day, and it was like you can measure your success in life by how quickly you go from one failure to the next. And I think that was huge. I think Jesse Lee was quoting someone, and it's like you're especially in entrepreneurship, and even just living like a healthy present lifestyle where you are purposeful, you're going to end up failing a couple different times. And if you sit there and let that get you down, it's like how much time and energy are you wasting being down when you could just be bouncing back up and getting after the next goal. So I think that's like my best definition of resiliency, and like that is truly how we get through life, and like making it the best. And how you do know like you're successful is because you're still finding that happiness in every moment, and like that's success, right? Like you're each successful because you're happy in each moment and you're grateful. And if you're not getting there, that's usually when you're sitting in that negative emotion, and that's where people start struggling. So I think that was super powerful. And then I'll just touch base really quick, especially in case someone's watching the recording, about the 30-day kickstart. You guys, like, I'm super excited. I know I have 3 people already registered. And if you guys have not registered already, if you're a current customer, make sure you have your products like talk to your coach or whoever got you started about what you need for January. There's 3 basic parts to the process. You're nourishing your body with shakes, you're combating stress with either the Ionix or adaptogen elixirs, and then we're doing fasting, where we practice fasting, whether it's a full day, a 2-day, or just a daily cleanse. And it's so simple to get your products ordered, and then it's a separate app. So you'll use the same username and password that you use to log into your back office to create your order that you will for the app. And it's really cool. I've already been in there. There's a ton of people that live on the beach that are like posting their welcome photos. And I'm super inspired by all of them. So make sure that as soon as you place your order, if you need more information, get more information about it. I know I have a boards app. Whoever's getting you started can send you a quick video so that you know all about it. And then place your order, get it in the app. The Unstoppable group is going to have so much value in there. I know there's the other groups as well, but that's the primary one that we're running through this recording. And then you're going to get $25 if you need. There's a leadership board inside the app. You're going to post daily. I'm going to be in the app more than I'm in Facebook. Okay. Because the people in the app are inspiring me. The people in the app are focusing on their goals and they're pushing forward, where you get on Facebook and it's kind of like the Wild West out there. Like people are complaining all the time, right? So I'm going to lean into the people in the app. And there's going to be like recipes in there. There's the leadership board. So there's a wellness portal, which has just helpful content overall. You can search for things in there. You can bookmark and share things there as well. And then the progress tracker has your tracking. So if you're getting in your shakes, your cleanse day, all of your schedule will be in there. How many days are left in the challenge, doing your progress photos, and then your total points. And then from your total points, there's the leaderboard, and you can see. So my goal is going to be to screenshot. We'll post it in our group at the end of the day. Just screenshot your leaderboard points and upload it into our group message. It's right now it's called like Healthy Through the Holidays. We'll rename it 30-Day Kickstart. as well. And that's how we'll all be cheering each other on every single day for 30 days. There will be a motivational or inspirational quote in there as well. So I'm just so stinking excited to have something like this, you guys, like more community, getting to know more people and supporting each other. So I'm so excited.
Yeah. Every time I go on there, I like learn something new and figure something out. And so I've got to sit down and just, invite and get people, interested in it, especially the people that are, happy customers. It's like, dude, do this, like, this will be great. So thank you for bringing that up. And that can be a part of like our, in the top of the community call, just like any quick announcements or like any quick reminders. And so that's a good idea. So I'll share with you guys the itineraries I'm creating that and see if I'm missing any like important bits to the puzzle. So, okay. Who else has some ideas about resiliency? Lisa.
Hey, thank you. Sorry, it's been a little crazy with dogs, kids, life. Anyways, okay, seriously, first time I really had to face resiliency. 2019, I had the bright idea pre-pandemic to quit my corporate job. This was even before Isogenics. Quit my corporate job, sell the house, meet my non-adoptive family, like everything at once. Okay, 3 months in, hadn't even sold the house. Like it went nuts. And I was so like freaking out. And the first thing that I heard in my like keeping me going is rejection is redirection. I had 34 showings on my home. 34, you guys. I'm in Roseville. I was in Roseville. That thing should have sold overnight.
Yeah.
Okay. But I didn't listen to myself. I listened to my realtor, my family, nobody that had a clue what the real case was. So take that part definitely on my journey forward, listen to yourself. But going back to that, like I saw it, and honestly, I saw it on Facebook. And again, this was before I even had a community or was even closely surrounded by anybody positive, doing anything moving forward. And it was almost like that was my fire that just kept me going. And every time, then about a month later, I'm just like, bring it. And then I ended up moving about 5 different times. I mean, and you get to a point where when you start thinking like that, you almost start to wait for a little bit of rejection, because you're like, okay, what's next? What's coming at me? What can I face?
Yeah.
Those big things make they make things that maybe seem really big, not that big.
Mm-hmm.
Because something else is waiting for you. I mean, unless you're not waking up, there's something greater. But you have to have faith. You got to put in the work. You got to just do the thing. And again, that was even pre-pandemic, pre everything I knew. Had I not came across like some silly quote or some, groups to keep me going, you got to get that mindset right. I think that's a big part of resiliency, keeping your mindset straight, taking care of yourself, listening to yourself, and just remembering that there's going to be more out there.
Yeah.
Seriously. That's what I think a lot of it led all of us here today, even everybody in the community. We all want something bigger and better. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, Isogenics has been around 20 years. It's brought in a lot of people. A lot of people have tried it. And as soon as there's like a bump in the road, like some people leave. And like, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to try different things and stuff. But like being able to get back on your feet, like that is, and having faith, like that's all a part of resiliency. And so it's like, I mean, you've survived every one of the worst days of your life so far. And I was brought up very much like comparative in the military and stuff, where it's like, oh, somebody's had a worse time than you. Like, oh, you thought your deployment was bad. Like Joe over there had to, do it way worse than you. And so it was like that mentality of like, oh, things could be worse. And it's not bad to like think that sometimes, like, oh, things could be worse, but like if you're in that state, then like that's really ugly. But it's like just knowing that like it just brings you back to gratitude is the thing. So it's like, I'm grateful that it's where it's at now. It could be worse, but you know.
Truth, total same. I was brought up kind of that same mindset. Oh, somebody's always got it worse.
Mm-hmm.
But yet you still have to remember and have that grace. And when you start to look at it like, oh man, somebody has it worse versus, you know, even the tone in that same language, you know, can be the same. So, or be so much different. But I think being brought up that way and letting it, having to like being able to let it go is huge too.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Noah, do you want to talk a little bit about resiliency?
Yeah, I think it's really, you know, just in general, it's like, I mean, never giving up. That's the biggest thing is like, especially in network marketing, I don't care, relationship building, whatever you're doing is never giving up. It's just because rejection is part of it. You know, it's whenever you're in sales, you're going to be rejected for something. I don't care if you're selling shoes, cell phones, whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. It's like, I mean, really when it comes to, you've got to learn that no is okay. You've got to learn that like when other people step in and change things, like it really, it's okay. Like, I mean, success is just a pile of bricks of failure, you know, that we walk on. And so all of these things, like when we talk about personal growth and development, like it's all the same. And really, like, I used to want to live my life just like always on that like high end, like that everything is awesome, like everything's so great, like, you know, smiling, like everything is so perfect and like blah, 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 blah. And you can't live like that, because every time that I would see something like Tony Robbins that was always like, be at peak state, I'd always think like, how am I supposed to be at peak state if like there's a tragedy, you know? And then like I've kind of shifted to where it's like, I love the idea of a pendulum. You swing from the good and then you swing to the bad, but what's center? Center is peace. And peace is where we should all strive to be. So you can want to be super happy all the time. Like, it's great to be happy. Like, I like be happy, you know, and enjoy that kind of thing. But you're not always going to have like the environment and all the things around you that are going to make your life so perfect.
There's always stressful things that happen. There's just things happen in life that's not, I mean, not what you expected. So it's just like, of course, and that's where our elixir comes in and everything else to especially just in general to relieve those stressful days.
Yeah. And just getting into the, you know, like leaning into that piece, you know, it's like when sad things, stressful things, hard things come, it's like sit in them, enjoy them, and then, or not enjoy them, but sit in them, you know, like, and have that feeling. And then, you know, getting to peace. You're not going to be happy the next day, but like you can be peaceful. So thank you. All right, Ange.
Hello. Yeah, kind of bouncing off of that. I love that, like, we all have the ability, like, within us to be resilient. So no matter what is thrown at us, like, we as a person can, but with help, like, that's the beauty of it too, is that you can't do it alone. I love our community. I love Isagenix, what we have. And you know, how you can just like, no matter what hits you, you can recover, you can adjust. And not just us as people, but even our bodies. I mean, our bodies are amazing. What we go through having babies, or, you know, like my dad actually just had a heart attack on Saturday.
Oh my God.
I know. And he's, you know, it was so funny because he's one of the healthiest men, you know, probably quit smoking 40 years ago. My parents haven't eaten meat for like over 20 years because my mom had cancer. And so they're so healthy. And he said to me, he's like, why? I can't believe, with a lot of swear words, he said, I can't believe this happened to me. Like, this should have never happened to me. And I really like thought back, like, yeah, why did this happen? Now, my dad also has a bit of a body issue, like stuff that happened when he was young about being thin. And my dad does not eat. I mean, he does our shakes, but he goes on long periods of time with not eating. My dad is so thin. And I was like, oh my gosh, Dad, this is why you had this heart attack. I think it actually has been causing stress on your heart, which it can. So, but it's so interesting. So he didn't really have any blockage. but you know, his heart has a little bit of damage. But again, our bodies are so amazing and resilient, like that he's going to be able to, I mean, he's going to be conscious of eating more and get his weight up. And I think, you know, he's going to be able to heal his heart.
Yeah.
So just like another example of how amazing, especially with, and all the things we have, even going back to our, like all our biohacking stuff. I mean, just the amount of things that we have that we can like really change the course of our lives, of our bodies, of our loved ones. And again, it comes back to, we have that ability, which I love. Like, I don't have to, I'm going to think about myself, and I'm going to do it for me, and I'm going to do it for my family. So that's kind of my take on it.
You know, I mean, there's always stories about the healthiest people having a stroke or heart attack, or, you know, developing cancers, like all these things. Like you always hear about these super, super healthy people. And like, I mean, it always, right now, even Brad has a former coworker, captain, major in the Army, had this just tumor growth show up on his neck one day, and they were like, what the heck? So they had a couple procedures, and then they had one final surgery to go in and clean it out and finally, you know, be done with it. And the next day he threw a massive clot, whole half of his body. So stroked out, whole half of his body went, you know, unable to move it, things like that. And has had multiple complications, including like pneumonia and like all these things. Like it just happened so fast. Like this young man in his 30s, like you would never know. And so we are not in a place where we could just go into a doctor's office and know everything going on inside of us. So when it comes to our circulation, you know, we don't know, like you could have great cholesterol, but like there could be areas that are stenosis, like there could be areas that have been strained your whole life. Like you don't know your full anatomy. Like, so unless you've had an entire body scan and you continue to check the scan to see if things change, you just never know. And so being resilient and being prepared for the worst, like, I mean, we've all beat our bodies up in different ways. And like, there's so much that I don't share about my journey with the VA. I was on the phone with like 3 different departments yesterday with the medical aspect of the VA. And I sit there and I pour my heart into these poor little schedulers. You know, they don't have anything to do with the way that the VA system is, but they just the VA will call me and say, hey, you're supposed to have an appointment with this person. And I'm like, what's it for? They don't know. And I'm like, why did they keep doing this to me? But there's things that we're investigating and looking down and figuring out and all this stuff. And I'd rather do it now than wait until, you know, 20 years down the road when these things could potentially be worse. And of course, part of it is I signed up for a study. So my bad. But there's other things that I have to like monitor and watch for the rest of my life. And it's like the craziest things. Like I think I clench at night. I've been dealing with that lately. And if I don't figure out how to not clench, or if I don't figure out whatever is going on, like I was reading up the long-term effects of that. And it's not pretty, you know, and it's like, I could choose to ignore it because it's not really bothering me right now, but like I could ignore it. And then in 20 years have like major issues, you know, but I could take care of this stuff now and eventually, you know, share my stuff so that other people can look into it too. So I think resilience is also that part that Angela was talking about, where it's like using your experience to help other people. Yeah, I've experimented with a couple of different mouth guards. The latest one that I bought, these are like disposable and they're really, really thin. And they're these little tiny, just like sit in your mouth. I can't sleep with it in. It bothers, it's like I can feel it. I can't sit my mouth right on it. It's like, and then it hurts, like my jaw will ache. And so I've got to, I don't know if I'm just gonna have to like go out and pay for a really expensive one or what, but even then, what if that one sucks too?
Just don't lose it.
I know Brad was like, he saw me put this thing in my mouth and he was like, if you choke on that at night, I'm gonna freak out.
Well, Sadie, you know, my dad had cardiac arrest last year, right?
Yeah.
So we're at the hospital. My dad is looped up on drugs and everything else, and he wanted to keep it, put it in his pocket. What happened to that thing? He totally forgot about it, and it's in the recycle, in the laundry chute.
Yeah.
So we had to have a brand new one made.
Yeah. I've seen the ones that are like really thin. They're almost like an Invisalign. And
That's
those,
what it was.
yeah, those ones, I'm just like the ones that I have now, like they really push up on my gums and stuff like that. That's another side effect too, Lisa, is that the first couple of weeks of starting this new med, like I was almost like sucking in my cheeks and my tongue, and so I was getting like marks
You get
on,
mouth sores. Yep.
and
Oh,
I've had
Sadie.
that my whole life. I
Yeah.
had that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
An anxiety
It's
thing.
interesting. I
whatever.
never thought that
Okay.
meds would make you grind teeth. That's
Yeah.
No,
weird.
I was on Adderall, so I don't
Okay.
know really what you're taking or whatever, but I was on Adderall and I would wake up with mouth sores so bad and it would get worse when my stressors were up. And then not knowing what was causing it anyways, I wanted to just throw that out there
Yeah.
because it was, and then you can't sleep
Well-
because you got all this stuff in your,
Yeah. And it's like a sensory thing. Like, and I've always been
Mhm.
very, I realized this, maybe like 10 years ago, like mouth stuff is like a whole section in my life. Like I had a tongue piercing, twice when I was a kid. And so I loved having the, plastic ball in my mouth, and looking back now, I'm like, I was always careful not to do the metal ones because it can ruin your teeth and stuff like that.
Mm.
But like,
Yeah.
but I didn't even have it probably for a full year, and I had it pierced on 2 separate occasions. Then during the military, couldn't have it anymore. But like, I have always had just things with mouth, and I had braces as a kid, and like I did have a retainer, and it didn't fit after a while, and I never went back to get it like resized or anything like that. But my teeth have shifted and moved since 7th grade. And so I'm like, thought about getting an Invisalign just for realigning and kind of fixing the minor issues and stuff. But like, I mean, it's an investment. And part of me is like, well, I need these teeth for a long time to come. So it might be worth it, to like continue on with this, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a metal retainer that they put in after the braces. It's underneath my hair.
Yeah.
It just keeps everything in line.
Yeah. I had one on the bottom, and we removed
That's
it
what it
because
is.
it's crowding my teeth. So
Really?
yeah,
Oh, that's
they
interesting.
started pulling them together. And so it was like, okay, can't do that. But
Hmm.
well, let's stop the recording now at this point, so we kind of keep it a little bit shorter, and we can keep talking.